The best way to overcome withdrawals from caffeine. If you're someone who's going through withdrawals right now, this video is for you. I've been through this process twice actually, and both times I've learned a lot of things. I've also learned a lot of things from helping you guys out there, reading all the comments and figuring out what works. The number one thing you need to start doing as soon as your withdrawals start coming is to journal. And there's a couple of reasons you want to do that. The number one is that you want to track your progress, because when you're in that withdrawal forest, this dark place, you can sometimes feel like things are not getting better. And even worse, you can sometimes fall into this trap of thinking that it will stay that way forever. However, if you start journaling and you just use your notes on your phone, or maybe you prefer the old school pen and paper, and you look back and then you're like, okay, well look, actually, even though I feel terrible today, I can track my progress, and I can actually see that at least 2 of those days in the week I actually felt quite amazing, and I was very grateful to be alive, and everything was actually going pretty smooth. A couple of months in, you might feel like things are only getting slightly better. But then if you track your progress, you realize that you're actually getting exponentially better. And then later in life, when you compare yourself to how you were under the influence of these drugs that give you a false, delusional sense of joy, you actually realize that now for the first time in your life, you're actually experiencing a real sense of joy. And you can actually prove it because it's all documented in your journaling. Obviously, this makes you heal faster. It helps you also come up with a lot of those emotional things, because when you're feeling those withdrawal symptoms, what you're feeling is that background unease. You feel that restlessness, you feel those cravings to indulge in whatever you are trying to abstain from. And what happens is that then a lot of emotional things come up. A lot of things from your childhood comes up, a lot of things from your past relationship, a lot of things that need healing, and the best way to heal is obviously through journaling. And it's a very good rescue whenever your mind starts to wander and think about these vices and you're thinking about giving up. Journaling usually solves the problem. The number 2 thing you need to do is to quit other vices. And I know this sounds contradictory to what you've heard. You've probably heard you need to focus on one thing. Don't go overboard. You're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to fail sooner than you think if you start to put too much load on your shoulders. The reason why that's not true is because caffeine has an extraordinary long withdrawal timeline compared to something like sugar, or compared to something like quitting social media, or quitting the news, or quitting smoking. All these, or many of these other vices that we have in life, they have very short timeline, meaning that after just a couple of days of abstinence, you are already beginning to experience the benefits from abstaining from all these other things, alongside with your longer time frame withdrawal timeline of caffeine. So if you're doing this for the first time, if you're quitting sugar for the first time, and you're quitting social media for the first time, you're doing a digital detox, you're quitting smoking, you're quitting other bad habits, you're now experiencing a lot of benefits in your life alongside with the withdrawal. So it actually evens out, or in best case, you don't even notice that you're abstaining from caffeine anymore, because you're experiencing all these other benefits from all these other things. So that's definitely something I suggest. And also focus on the benefit of personal consistency and motivation. That's something that is very underlooked, something that is very undervalued when it comes to quitting caffeine. As we've talked about in previous videos, caffeine gives you that false, delusional sense of accomplishment. Now, the opposite of that is authenticity. And authenticity is the most powerful thing in the world. It's the thing that when you ask people what they respect the most, it's usually people who are authentic, people who dare to be themselves, to say their own opinion, to do what they're set out to do in this world. And you can only really get in touch with that, with who you really are and what your true purpose is, once you become authentic. And to become authentic, you need to create the right environment. And that is obviously to let go of vices, to let go of addictions, to let go of all these things that are holding you back. Number 3, you need to implement positive habits. Start going to the gym, start meditating, start taking cold showers. You know the drill. Number 4, you need to be your authentic self. So number 4, it's more like a benefit that you need to realize. Becoming your authentic self is something that is going to happen to you once you let go of, especially caffeine. I think caffeine is one of the things that are holding us back the most from our true authenticity in life. You realize your mission in life, you experience what real self-esteem feels like, not that fake confidence, which is just a physiological response from an elevated heart rate and from cortisol levels that are through the roof. No, you experience what real self-esteem feels like. When you experience that real personal consistency, when you're the same person in your belief, in your actions, in your thoughts every single day for a whole year, that's when you realize what real self-esteem feels like. That's when you create the right environment for you to do something that you've been postponing for so long, like to create a business, to write a book, maybe to start a YouTube channel, or maybe to create that dream relationship of yours. All these things require personal consistency. If you're taking 8 different drugs throughout the whole week, and I'm talking about light drugs as well, like sugar and caffeine, you're just 8 different people. You're essentially 8 different people throughout the whole week. The person who wants that morning coffee on Monday morning is not the same person who has had their morning coffee later in the afternoon. And that person is different from the person who has their Friday night alcohol. And that person is different from the person who just goes all in on the fast carbs on Sunday morning. If you're a guy and you're engaging in online porn and stuff like that, you're obviously also a different person before you do that compared to after. Like, the energy levels change, the opinions change. As a result of that, your character changes. So the person who maybe decides on Monday morning, hey, let's write that book. It's going to take a year of consistent effort. How are you going to do that when you are 10 different people in 1 week? Right? It doesn't work. Now, some people get away with it when it's very situational, when it's very contextual, such as taking the same amount of pre-workout every time you go to the gym. Well, okay, maybe then you might experience some gains in the gym. But if you're talking about bigger things, like building a business, like creating your creative project that you're set out to do in this life, that's going to require your 24/7 effort. And for that, you need authenticity 24/7. The best way to achieve that is to let go of all these vices, all these addictions, starting with caffeine. Number 5, remember that tapering is always an option. So get to 1 cup and then switch to tea. This is, from what I understand, from what I've tried myself, the best way to get off coffee. The idea is basically that you need to get to 1 cup because everything above 1 cup of coffee is really just beating up a dead horse. You've more or less reached the saturation point that your dopamine receptors are capable of receiving at 1 cup of coffee, and everything beyond that is really just adding to unnecessary intoxication of the body. You're not really doing more in terms of that fake energy that you're probably looking to get. So remember, the tapering is an option. You can wean down coffee. You can even switch to something like black tea, which works like magic for some people. People say that it's very different. It could have something to do with the fact that there's L-theanine, so you get a slower release of the caffeine, you could say. It could also have something to do with the fact that there are MOI-like drugs in coffee that are not present in something like green tea or black tea. I don't know what the reason is specifically. I would love to one day do a comparative study between black tea and coffee. There must be some fundamental difference in how the caffeine works. But for now, just know that going to black tea will ease you into the process much better than just going cold turkey. Another thing you can try if tapering doesn't work for you is the zero force method, which I have now coined. Indulge, but add awareness. And that's all there is to it. Next time you have your cup of coffee in the morning, add in more awareness to the whole thing. What are you feeling like? What's going on within you before, during, and after? And with time, coffee will either remain in your life or it will fall out of your life naturally. And if you really want it to fall out, it will fall out naturally. That's just how it works, because awareness, it brings you closer to your true essence, to who you really are. Added awareness is almost like an energetic force that is helping you achieve the things you want in life. So make use of that. Add awareness to the process, and you might even be able to do it with no effort. Be conscious about support groups and communities. So most people are hyper-focused on quitting one thing at a time. What happens when you're hyper-focused on this one thing, such as quitting caffeine, and you now go from having a coffee drinker's identity to having a coffee quitter's identity, you're just obsessing over it way too much. I've talked about these day trackers in the past. I don't really believe in them anymore. Maybe they work in the beginning, maybe they work for some people. I certainly don't think that you should compare your progress to other people's. I certainly also don't think that you should expect certain results on certain days, because chances are that you are actually going to heal faster and sooner. So, and another reason why you want to be conscious about these groups and these communities, and nose diving into every single YouTube video's comment section on Decaf and Reddit and whatever it is, the worst case scenarios speak the loudest, and the healed ones no longer take part in these groups. So you don't get a fair representation of what it is like to quit substances. And this goes for all categories of substances, for all categories of addictions. For some reason, we tend to just focus on these horror stories out there, and we're ignoring like the 99 other positive, overwhelmingly positive comments. But that one guy who just for some reason, probably reasons that have nothing to do with caffeine, just can't seem to heal from it. For some reason, we remember those stories a lot, and they make an imprint on us more than they should. That's just how humans are built. That's why you want to make this your own journey. Don't make this some collective journey. It's not a group journey. This is not something you're doing to become part of a new tribe. You're doing this to improve your life and to continue doing whatever it is you were doing before, or maybe something else, but it's your own thing. You're doing it for you, and you might heal in one day. No one is to say that's impossible. A lot of people have quit caffeine with not a single sign of withdrawal symptoms. I know some personally who have not even experienced sleep issues when it came to quitting caffeine. So, but if you compare yourself to other people in these communities, they usually have these timelines, and they have these guidelines, and they have these posts that are what to expect and what is most likely going to happen. And placebo is a real thing. Okay, you can really make yourself believe and feel that things are going to change magically on day 60. And what you're actually doing is you're postponing your own life, your own happiness, because you might have already healed. But then you've created this vision inside of you thinking that, on day 60, I'm going to wake up refreshed. And every day you subconsciously feed that idea. Number 7, learn meditation. Again, meditation has saved my life before, and it's, I don't know, some would say is why we're here on earth. The reason why we're here on earth, life is not here to make you happy. Life is here for you to learn meditation. In other words, life is here for you to learn who you really are. And you can only really begin doing that through some type of meditation. It could be breath work, it could be body awareness, it could be whatever it is for you. I recommend start by reading The Power of Now. join a meditation center, or you can just sit down in a chair and follow your breath for 20 minutes every day for 30 days. And that's all I'm going to say to that. Number 8, ask yourself if you really want to quit or not. Okay, so this is very important. I see so many people who think that coffee is bad because they've been told that it's bad. That's not good enough. Indulge, be aware, as I said, use the awareness technique. Try living without it for 90 days and compare how you feel with and without. Weigh up the pros and cons based on your own experience, and the motivation to do what's right for you will emerge naturally. Every time I see someone post something online, or I'm talking to people in the real world and they're like, you know, I kind of want to quit caffeine, but it's just so hard and I just feel like I want to do it anyway, or whatever it is. And I'm like, do you really want to quit? What makes you think that you should quit? You know, I'm trying to play the devil's advocate, and what I realize is that they are not really convinced that it's a good idea to quit, that is the right thing for them to quit. So at first you have to do it as an experiment. You shouldn't just rely on you know, some study that you've read, or some article that you've read, or some YouTube testimonial of some guy who claims that his sleep improved because of quitting caffeine. You need to know it by yourself, and true knowledge comes from experience. It doesn't come from intellectual knowledge. And the only way is for you to try and then just be really honest with yourself and just let yourself fail, right? Let yourself indulge in coffee again. Compare it with drinking coffee again once you've abstained for 90 days. Do 90 days with coffee now. See what happens. What metrics are you looking for in life? Relationships, love, romance, career, business, finance. You know, make an overview of all these things. What are you feeling like in general? What about authenticity? Is that something you value? Can you still be authentic when you're drinking caffeine, when you're drugged up? Is that possible for you? Maybe you're a rare exception who can do that. Maybe your body metabolizes caffeine so fast that before you're leaving the door after your morning coffee, it's already out of your blood. You know, you need to know it in your own heart. And once you do, the motivation, the desire, the discipline, all these things are going to emerge naturally, and that's the best way to quit. Number 9, remember that it's all temporary. When the withdrawals are over, you will be grateful for your decision and in a much better place. I mean, when I hear this advice personally, I don't really care, but I have a feeling that some people like to have this little affirmation. It is temporary. And it takes longer than 7 days to heal fully from coffee, usually, right? I'm only saying this to the people out there who have gone over 7 days and are wondering, like, why am I still anxious? Why I still have these sleep issues? Maybe there's something wrong with me. Most likely there's not. Like, most likely if you've let go of coffee or caffeine 7 days ago and you're having sleep issues for the first time in your life, it's most likely just the withdrawal symptoms. Nothing special about that. Give it 90 days and then report back. Number 10, subscribe to this channel, and thanks for watching.